That's Bret McKenzie behind the mic, singing tunes from his new album, Songs Without Jokes. We talked to Bret about recording with the elite of the LA Session Cats. But first we begin with chat about his old band, the Black Seeds.
You wanna go, baby, then you should go. Build a pack of bags, darling, and hit that road. You wanna go, baby, yeah, where you go. I'm gonna hang around waiting for you, hell no.
You got a shout out at a show I saw the other day. The Black Seeds played at the Power Station here a couple of weeks ago, and
oh, all right.
I think they mentioned that you had written a song. You were a member of the band in early days, right?
Yeah. So I was one of the early members of the band, and that was one of my first bands. And I saw them last week as well. Actually, it's very weird for me to go to their concerts because I know the music. It's like, what? I played this song for years, and they sound great at the moment. Barney and Dan, it almost looked like time had. It's like those guys don't look any older. I was like, wow, it looks like 2007. And yeah, they sound great. But yeah, I was in the band and we toured for years. Actually, I was in the Black Seeds about the same time as Conchords was starting.
Yep.
And I remember Rich, the drummer, going, "Well, what's Bret gonna do if one day he goes to America and makes a TV show or something?" And
what's the chances of that happening?
What are the chances? And then that happened. I was like, okay, guys, I got to leave the band. I'm living in America.
Yep.
So but for a while there, I was kind of going. It was fun. I toured the Black Seeds. We'd tour Auckland and Australia, and we'd tour New Zealand and Australia, and then I'd jump go direct to like a comedy festival, do the Melbourne Comedy Festival with Jermaine, and I was just back to back touring. It was fun, really fun, and a lot of the stories from the Black Seeds were really great material for Conchords. They ended up influencing the TV show, really.
That's good to know.
They were real band stories. It was like real band stories where like the manager's like, turn the van around. I left a bag of money. I left the money on top of the van. Like $5,000 in cash lying on the side of the road.
Fantastic. Excellent. So now you're back to doing the music thing, Songs Without Jokes. Obviously, from the title of the album, you feel you kind of have to justify or explain yourself a little bit. So
exactly, yeah. I was coming up with album names, and then I was telling people I was doing this record, and that always the first question was, "Oh, is it comedy?" Right. And I'd say, "Oh, no, it's not. I'm just song. There's songs." I was considering calling the album Songs, but it sort of hasn't entirely worked because I still end up having to explain that it's not comedy songs anyway. But the idea was I wanted to sort of give the audience a bit of a head start to give them, because I feel like there's a big thing with expectation. You know, coming as a comedian and people coming to it and they want to hear me do comedy songs. So it's quite confronting, I think, for an audience to be like, what's he doing? And so it was to kind of help lead them into it.
And even if they're familiar with the Black Seeds history, this sounds nothing like the Black Seeds, I got to say.
No, it doesn't. And I think a couple of people who are Black Seeds fans were like, what is this, man?
But I am a big Harry Nilsson fan, and I can definitely hear his influence in there.
So am I. Yeah, big that 70s. I think in the time I've spent in LA, I've sort of fallen in love with that 70s and 80s LA studio sound. And Randy Newman, Harry Nilsson, there's a bit of Dire Straits influence in there. Just that sort of combination of songwriting on guitar and piano, but then with a synth layer, it ends up sounding kind of that period. It was funny. I think to begin with, it was quite 70s, and then we thought, let's make it more contemporary, and we added synth, and it just ended up sounding 80s.
That's how that describes the 80s perfectly. Yes.
Yeah. It's really fun.
It's
so fun.
You worked with a guy named Mickey Petralia, is that right?
That's right. So Mickey Petralia produced the album, and he produced. I met him because he did all the Conchords, produced all the Conchords records and the music for the TV show, and then we carried on working together and produced all the Muppets film music. Right. And he produced basically any job I work on, he produces the music and with me. And he's born and bred in LA. And he worked with Beck on Midnight Vultures, and he's one of those guys. It's quite nice. He just knows everyone because he grew up in LA. So you go out with Mickey or you're working on something, and he's always bumping into. It's like you're in New Zealand, but you're in Los Angeles with him because he knows everyone. It's a good quality. I think I liked it because I come from Wellington, where everyone knows everyone.
Yep. It's
and
kind of
sometimes I
scary.
walk, yeah. So yeah, he's great, and really he and I both were kind of excited about the idea of doing a recording that wasn't for. We've been doing a lot of film songs, and often working on films, it's really fun because you get to work in these big studios with great session players, but there's quite a lot of notes, and you've got to hit these points for the character, or you've got to tell the story. There's a lot of heavy lifting that the song has to do, and we were both a little fatigued by that process, I guess. And the idea of we both were just like, wouldn't it be fun to do some songs with these session players, and just for the sake of the songs.
So the songs themselves, are these songs that have been rattling around for a while? Are they all written specifically for the album? What's the backstory?
The songs were really I just collected little fragments of songs from over the years. And the album, we went into it not really knowing what was going to happen. Because it was such a new thing for me, we weren't even sure what the sound was going to be. Right. Having spent so much time parodying genres, I was like, okay, well, for me, it was curious just learning how to sing the songs, because I was going, oh, well, I can make it sound like someone else, but then what does it sound like if I'm trying to be myself? It was really quite a curious challenge, and but yeah, really, 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 really fun at the same time. But the songs, I feel like they started off, I think the majority of them were little ideas that I would come up with that I didn't really know what to do with. And I'd often write songs in the evening after the kids were asleep. I often play my guitar then. And it's fun. I'd come up with the songs, and if one was kind of good, my wife, I have a terrible memory. She'd be like, "What's play that song you had played the other night?" I was like, "I can't even remember that. I don't know. I can't remember."
Right.
So I started recording them into like voice memos on my iPhone, which I feel like everyone does now.
I'm afraid they do.
There must be a lot of songs out there in the cloud. And anyway, what's quite fun is my wife, sometimes she's like, "Have you recorded this one? I like this one sounds good." So she's like, "Make sure I record like that one's good." And I collected them up and I'd write them. I think perhaps that's why there's a sort of there's a bit of a moody kind of reflective tone to some of the songs, which I think comes from playing at night, having sort of read the news, read The Guardian, seen the calamity of the world, kids are sleeping, just like, oh God, what's happening?
Yeah, well, you have a song called "Carry On" that sounds just exactly like that scenario.
That's that vibe. Yeah. So that feeling comes through in the record, and then I guess some of the songs have more of a daytime feel, and That's LA was probably the first song that we started for the record. Right,
and that almost has like a little jazzy vibe to it.
Yeah, it's got a real kind of Steely Dan, I guess, kind of jazzy, kind of like. And what was really what was a blast was, so the guitar player on the session is Dean Parks, who played
I know that.
Played on the Steely Dan records.
Yeah.
So it was just a great, strange moment saying to Dean, "Could you do a guitar solo kind of like a Steely Dan style?" he's like, "Yeah, I got this. I got this." He's like, and then like he plays the solo, and Mickey and I just sitting there going, "Oh yeah, that's really good. That's good. That's really good."
Well, while we're dropping names, who else is playing on the record? Because I haven't got credits.
Yeah, the records. That's one beautiful thing about Los Angeles is these legendary players live there. Dean Parks on guitar, Joey Waronker is on drums.
Yeah.
Who Mickey knew from playing with Beck, and he's kind of like an LA guy. And then Leland Sklar is the bass player, who's an absolute legend, and Chris Caswell is the arranger, who actually. Here's the connective part for me. He came on. I met him doing the Muppets because he played piano for Rolf in Jim Henson's early Muppet stuff. So he was did the Muppets music, and he's probably in his 60s, I guess. And so then when we started working on the films, he goes, "You should get Lee Sklar to come and play bass." And then he's friends with Lee, so he sort of connected the older generation of session musicians.
Yep,
And then Mickey connected the younger generation. Joey, who's is my age, not young. And then Drew Erickson is the other player, a beautiful keyboard player who plays with a lot of great Wise Blood and Jonathan Wilson and he did the Aaron Ray record recently, and he's a beautiful arranger as well, does string arrangements. So it was a cool combination of some older players, some younger players, and Daryl Thorpe engineered, and he's engineer. He works with the Foo Fighters a lot. Really amazing engineer, and he ended up mixing the record as well. So yeah, the crew were it's total wrecking crew of Tame. And it's just that is just so. I mean, I've been so lucky working on films, because that's how I learned about that world. Because for film sessions, they bring in these great session players because they move fast. They record the song in 2 takes, and you're done. You move to the next track. So it's high budget for those films, but it's really fast. You move really fast, and the studio they're going, okay, next song, keep moving. And but I just saw how this process can work, because I'd come from working in Wellington, where it's just take a lot more time, people trying to figure out what's going on, trying ideas, and totally different process. But I there's something very special about these session players and their ability. They can play a song, which is quite, I mean, I'm more of a cut and paste type player. I've grown up, like a lot of, but these guys,
a bit from here, a bit from there.
Yeah, exactly. They played for so many years, and they play, they do these single takes, and you do the whole song, and then you stop, and you go, okay, that was great. And they go, and then the guitar player might say, okay, can you punch me in bar 26?
Yeah.
And he punches in the 2 bars that he knows he made a mistake, and he's remembered.
Yeah,
and he punches,
that's amazing.
You fix it. It's something else. It's absolutely it's something else. Yeah, really.
So are you playing the piano throughout?
No, I sing. I play a bit of guitar and a bit of synth, but I did the demos, so I'd play all the parts on the demos, bass and guitar, but then once we got these guys in, they replayed all the instruments. Really, there's a few parts of mine survived, but it's quite hard to compete with these guys. Actually, sometimes Dean on guitar, I'm like, go something like this, and then he plays. I'm like, damn, how am I going to play that? I've got to learn how he played that. Yeah.
And I see there's a couple of videos and I see some familiar faces in those videos. One for A Little Tune, which is actually the longest track on the album. Nice.
Good point.
You got Madeline Sami in there.
Here's a little song to let you know I love you. Just a little tune to let you know I care. A simple melody, 'cause I've been thinking of you. I want you to know I wish that I was there.
Madeline Sami, and she's in the video we shot at Whanganui. That was really fun. And then Ezra Simons is the video director. He's from the band Earth Tongue. He's in a Kiwi band.
Oh, yes, I'm going to see them tonight.
Yeah, and Dick Move, that tour, right?
Yes.
Mate, you're in for a treat. It's so good. It's so fun. So Ezra, the drummer, he's a really incredible music video director.
I had no idea.
And he works with Gussie on videos as well. Gussie's the guitar player in the band. You'll see.
I just saw Gussie 2 nights ago at the Tuning Fork.
Right. Yeah.
She works there.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So and then the newer video has Liv Tennant and Ben Lemmy, Ben's the drummer in my band. Yep. So yeah, that's the
and there's the horns in A Little Tune, very New Orleans vibe kind of. Where does that come from?
They come from New Orleans.
Great answer.
Yeah.
I thought there were no jokes.
They were Ben Jaffe arranged them, and he plays with the Preservation Hall Jazz Band, which is an old New Orleans jazz group. And coincidentally, we have the same manager.
Okay.
So when I played it to my manager, Mike, he was like, we should get some horns. You should put some horns on the song. And then so Ben arranged the horns, and that's just amazing horn players from New Orleans. Yeah.
Right.
There's horns on two songs on the album. That was kind of during COVID. It was kind of, if COVID hadn't been there, I would have got the chance to go there. But because of COVID, it was like email the track, and then they recorded it. And it was quite special, I think, because it was one of the first recordings they'd done after a year of isolating.
Right.
And New Orleans was hit pretty hard with COVID. So yeah, Ben was like, man, we had so much fun on this. Everyone was just so excited to like play.
Cool. So you,
Yeah.
you alluded to how we're going to do this live. You are doing a tour here, playing some gigs. What's that going to be like? What can we expect?
Yeah, well, we've been rehearsing. I've put together this band of awesome Wellington players, and we've got
Right.
9 of us for the New Zealand tour. It's massive. It's really unviable project. And
so you will be making no money.
we'll be making no money, but I think we're gonna have a really good time. Yeah, it's been fun learning the songs and figuring out how they'll play live. And I think I'm kind of, for me, it's at the expectation of coming from Conchords and doing comedy shows. I'm so used to the main reason for playing is to make people laugh. That's the sort of measure of success in in doing a comedy show. But so I've got to switch gears, and I still want to entertain, and I want the audience to have fun, but I'm also trying to figure out ways to go from a song that's fun or funny into a song that's more just purely emotional, and see and navigate that as a live show. But so it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a curious balance. But there's a lot of people do that. I'm quite inspired by, like, Anika Moa is a great example of someone who's a really fun live show, but then can suddenly drop into a beautiful, heartfelt song. I think it's for the audience, it's probably not as much of a challenge as it is for my mind.
Right. So instead of making them laugh, you got to make them cry when.
I don't think I'm going to make them cry. We'll see.
And then in the long term, what are you thinking ahead to your next project? What are you kind of thinking about?
I've started writing songs for another record, and we've actually already tracked did a first tracking session. So I'm definitely thinking more music. I'm feeling less obsessive about no jokes. I feel like I was quite obsessive on this record. It was like, I want to do something different. Now I feel like, having made it, I'm like, oh well, now I feel comfortable with this, doing something that can be funny and not doesn't need to be funny. So do you see what I mean? I'm feeling like I'm finding this space, and I'm really enjoying it. And at the same time, I'm writing songs for films, so that funds this, helps me keep this thing going. This 9-piece band.
That kind of brings me back to Harry Nilsson, because, like I said, big fan, and he had Without You, big serious tearjerker, but you listen to those albums and they're hilarious.
It's so
you're breaking
funny,
my heart. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I know. I feel like there's something, I might be wrong, but I feel there's something about that time recording in the 70s where you would spend enough time in the studio that you would do some serious ones, and then you probably were like, the band was probably desperate to do something. You just let off some steam playing something ridiculous, and often a couple of those would end up on the record because they'd be just fun tracks. And I think it's hard to do that now, because often you go in the studio and you've got 1 day or 2 days, and everyone's kind of got the demos that they've worked out and their songs are built. It's hard to create an environment where there's that playfulness in a recording. So I'm definitely interested in that sort of zone. Yeah.
All righty, very good. Well, we'll wrap this up. You're going to be up here at the Auckland Town Hall in the middle of September for a couple of shows, I see. So
come along. I'll make sure I'll put your name on the door. You got to come check it out.
Thank you very much. Fantastic, and good luck with everything. Thank you.
Sweet, man. Thanks, Marty.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.